Hi, good afternoon, everybody. I'm very excited. It is my premiere here in Munich at DLD. It is definitely not your premiere, I learned earlier, and also neither yours. So bear with me here to speak to you guys. So I have the honor, I could say, to have the great opportunity to talk to you about urgent topics and also very interesting topics. So future-proofing German businesses. And we have the industrial strength sitting here, and also the digital innovation coming together, facing the same environment we are facing in Germany. So it has completely shifted over the past years, latest with the Ukraine war, with COVID. We're facing different challenges now, and the biggest of them could be energy. I would like briefly to introduce you a little bit more for everybody who doesn't know you two guys. So we have Christian Hartel, the CEO of Wacker Chemie. It's a German business based in Munich, but they operate globally. And Christian is with the company for over 20 years, which is a great success and achievement. And we have Malik Rao, who is the Chief Technical and Enterprise Officer at O2 and Telefonica here in Germany. You're also in Munich for like almost 10 years? Since
6 years now.
6 years? Yeah. You worked globally, lived in
8 countries.
8 countries, worked in telecommunications all over the globe, starting in India and then expanded to the US, Europe, also in Turkey. And now you came from Maastricht to Munich, which is great. I'm very excited to talk to you about the challenges that we are facing in Germany, especially. And I think it's very interesting because the industry that you guys are operating in are very different from each other. So you work in the chemical industry, which is a very old German industry. You're not working directly with the customers together. And you are working in the telecommunications, which is also not a new industry, but it changes a lot over the past years. And you have very much contact to the customers you're working with. So as a little icebreaker or warm-up session, I wanted to challenge you in one sentence. What is the most current challenge that you have looking at today and tomorrow? Question, maybe you want to start.
Yeah, I could start. I mean, for chemical industry, I mean, we are typically very energy intensive, and therefore energy is the, let's say, the operative challenge of the hour. But there is the same with competition, especially coming from China, and therefore I would use these two as an answer.
Very good. Malik?
Yeah, for us, I think two things. One is the consumer demand. It's great that we're an industry which continues to have consumer demands ever enough, right? Nothing is enough for everybody. Connected cars, it's explosion of data which is happening on one side. Other side, technology is chasing so much that we got to change ourselves. If we don't disrupt ourselves as a team, as a company, you can't serve the demands which are coming up from the industry.
So you work for Telefonica, making technical, very important decisions, focusing on the G5 network, but also spurring AI innovation for technology.
Absolutely. Technology and for the enterprises, because we do provide for consumers as well as for the enterprises. Now, enterprise heartbeat gets, like Christian would, of course, talk about it, how quickly the industry will change. Because technology is there, and we want the industry to move fast. How can we help the digital transformation of the industry? So that's a big topic for us, and apart from the consumer.
A checkup. How is this situation working currently here in Germany?
It is going. It goes a little slower than what we would love to have. But at the same time, it's a matured industry, so the digital transformation starts with culture and people. Technology is the last thing in my mind when I go to any customer, right? How quickly the culture and people can change to adopt the technology, because technology is there. And technology, the disruptive technologies like AI are coming in now, right? How quickly we can change. I would say from German perspective, having lived in 8 countries, it may be 12 to 24 months behind what I would love to have. That's it.
And when AI comes in your playing field now,
yes,
how much faster is the change happening right now?
Change happens for Telefonica to, at this point of time, we adopt and disrupt using AI from a cost side of the house. That's basically productivity. How can we be productive? What kind of use cases I can take, for example, relating to energy. And whenever we want AI to work at a scale, you need to create a disruptive movement in the company. For me, this disruptive movement a couple of years back was the Ukraine war, where we spent close to 200 million euros energy every year. And the energy price have gone significantly higher. And I had an exposure in 1 year itself, about 100 million. Now, this is an opportunity for the team to really say, okay, what kind of models do I need to bring in? And we were able to bring down the energy consumption itself about 14% with growing data in a span of 12 months. So compelling event can create disruptive technologies to be adopted in our industry.
Speaking of energy, you work in one of the most energy-intense sectors there is in the chemistry industry. And obviously, you are affected by the Ukraine wars like no other, more or less. How did you survive this crisis, and how are you facing the energy costs and crisis now?
Well, I think I don't want to elaborate too much on our energy sourcing strategy, which obviously helped us to survive. But I think let's talk about maybe more going forward, and let me add also one comment, because you said old industry. Yes, it is an industry with a long history, but yet we do provide super modern stuff. And actually, there would be no AI without us, because we provide the key raw material to produce computer chips, which is the polysilicon, which I think I presented here also last year. So we are an integral part of that new value chain on AI. And when you talk about AI, so the production of the material is energy intensive. That's our part. Therefore, we advocate very strongly for building new capacities for producing electricity and lowering the prices, because I think it will be a really competitive advantage for every country. And then when you talk about AI, you also have a high consumption of energy. So for me, kind of energy is really part of a solution if we as a continent or as a country want to stay competitive. And here I see, too little initiatives, and some other regions are more advanced. If you go to the US or if you go to China, people talk a lot about expanding the production of energy, especially electricity, at competitive prices. And I think this is something, if we don't want to fall behind as a continent, we need to do more on this side.
And what would your solution be on that? Because in Germany, we decided to leave nuclear energy. Also, the rural energy we will leave in a couple of years. I think it's like less than 10 years. And we have some natural resources to produce green energy, but not the storing capabilities yet. So how can we solve the energy demand in Germany?
Well, I mean, first of all, I would say it's not really a kind of a country-specific problem like Germany, or it's more a European thing. And in Europe, there's a lot of opportunities. I think we need to connect our energy systems better than we have it today, and we need to expand production capacity. And that is also, if you ask me, I think we also need more nuclear power. It takes some more time to invest, and we need definitely more on the renewable side, and also smart grids and some more capacities for energy storage. And this will all lead with an expansion of capacity to lower prices. And I think that's really the key topic that the EU should have on the agenda, next to deregulation.
Before we come to regulation, I would like to ask you about your...
And AI, of course.
We will go through. I would like to ask you, what was your impression from China? You just came back, which is a very different country with very different environments. So what was your major takeaway from this visit?
So, I'm traveling to China since almost 20 years, and I'm several times a year in China, and I just came back. And every time you come back and you say, wow, there's really something exciting going on. And on the other side, you say, oh, wow, that is frightening what's going on. And it's this mixture. But what is the main difference is, compared to Europe, there's such a speed that people drive products, drive innovation, drive business success. So they are really driven, these guys. And also, many people talk about, I don't want to argue on the political system, which is obviously different, and I love our system. There are so many entrepreneurs in China, and typically people don't talk so much about it. They often talk about the state-owned enterprises, but growth in China today is 80% private companies, and these are entrepreneurs. And it was an interesting meeting also in China in March, and I met Yossi, our DLD Yossi in Beijing, and we talked about the innovation power, and we talked about this new car from Xiaomi, which is a telecom provider. They make telephones, and they decided 3 years ago to go into cars. They have a brand new facility. Yossi was there; he was excited. And I think that shows the speed the Chinese operate today, and the car is great. So and I think it's very attractive on the pricing, and therefore it's both fascinating to see, but it's also frightening because we need to adapt the speed. I absolutely believe.
So Telefonica will also go big in cars now in the future? Malik?
I think so, yeah.
Probably.
Yeah. Look, I think there are definitely nuances for every country, every place. I think, I would prefer an European system of governance, not necessarily over-regulation, but regulation is important. But it cannot be, you cannot build a business based on regulation. You build a business for the business, then you say, okay, how can regulation enable or provide a framework for you to be successful? The second thing, most important thing is here compared to other, even US, ability to take risk. This continent is extremely averse to risk taking because you want to be perfect. You prefer a perfection than time to market. Right? So these are the two big challenges which I see, and that's where, our industry is no different. We're also, as Telefonica, is a 100-year-old company. But at the same time, because technology is moving so fast, we can only adopt, right? Without adoption, I was telling Christian, I can't bring any feature, even if it is 6 months behind a competition. So I have to be cutting edge. So that forces. So the technology forcing us to change. Right? At the same time, technology is getting commoditized, and at the same time, the technology has to be adopted to the enterprises. So these are the few things which I see more opportunities than challenges, right? And because the industry what we live in. At the same time, if we can become much more time-to-market focused, right? As Christian was also mentioning, China or some of these countries work 6 days a week. They don't take a 1 month August completely off and then go off. And these things doesn't happen.
So one person who's responsible for regulatory was here earlier this morning, Markus Söder, and he said he wanted to build Bavaria Silicon Valley AI hub in Germany, maybe even for Europe. You are also very into AI and into building the environment at Telefonica. What is the opportunity in Bavaria, and also what can you bring into the Bavarian Silicon Valley here?
I think it's first of all ability to attract talent. I think this place is amazing. When I've lived in 8 countries, I ended up in Munich. Is going to be if I spend this end of this year in December, this is my longest in my life at one single city, in my life since birth. So talent attraction, definitely on top.
What do you need for talent attraction?
That's what Bavaria is able to attract talent. People are coming in, people want to come in, knowledge workers are coming in, you have companies. I would not hesitate to overstate, it is becoming a Silicon Valley of Germany or Europe. Of course, there's some competition, but will it become a Silicon Valley for the entire globe? I doubt, because the speed of adoption is still has a lot of potential to improve, right? For Europe, for sure. For Germany, 100%. I'm 100% on it. But for Europe, for the world, that's where I say, okay, challenges. But I'm super happy. I have got in my team when I came in, About 75 people followed me into this place, and not even one guy or one talent, both male and female, said, okay, Malik, it's not a place where I would want to be in. This is not a place where I want my kids to be in. Everybody says, wow, this is like amazing place. Quality of life, safety, security. I mean, sometimes basics are luxury. And please count that the basics, what you have in this place, is a luxury for anybody on the planet, including even US. I can bet on that one.
So your company has been here in Bavaria for a long time, longer than AI exists, but you're doing chips, you're also providing for semiconductors, which is also very, very important in today's technology. What can you provide for the AI environment that we want here in Bavaria, or Markus Söder wants in Bavaria, we want in Germany, and what do you need for your company to make that happen?
Well, I agree, first of all, with Malik, what you said. I think the starting point for Europe also today is it's amazing. I mean, I agree with you. I mean, every time I go abroad, typically you get back the answer, wow, it's such a great country where you come from, where you live. It's safe, a lot of talent, affordable, all good things. Nice, the environment is good, positive. So I think we can really leverage that. And I'm absolutely positive about the future. And I think it would only take a few things which we need to do differently. And I think, first of all, it is the regulation. We are absolutely over-regulated. Get rid of regulation to a healthy level. I don't say there should be no regulation, that's not the answer, but it should be a healthy level, because then you could really unleash the potential we have. And that's what I'm missing. And when people talk about regulation, then you have this picture of this chainsaw, right? Personally, I'm not the big fan of that picture. But to be honest, I think what we do today in Europe is more this little jigsaw, this Laubsäge. And I think the Laubsäge is not the right approach. You need to really cut some stuff in regulation. And I would be controversial and say, who needs an EU AI Act? Who needs it? Get rid of it. Get rid of it and unleash the power of AI that everybody else is doing on the planet. We're the only ones that want to regulate everything. And I think... Sorry? Yeah, sometimes you get that impression, but I think it just hinders us in growing and be competitive and successful.
Would you agree? Would you also get rid of the EU AI Act, Malik?
Look, I would be. I don't say I would get rid of, but at the same time you challenge, because you need development first to happen before you say I want to kill, right? I want to stop something. Let it evolve. Adopt as quickly. When you don't need a regulation and say 10 years, it should remain as it is. You can revise regulation every month, every quarter. Nobody is stopping, because the world is not going to be taken over by AI in one day. It takes time, because you need, first of all, if you want AI, you need data. To get the data itself in every company, believe me, it's not an easy task. We all might tinker, right? I mean, it's not necessarily that, okay, in Europe or even in US, if you go back into any industry which is at least 10 to 15 years old, including Google. Google is also now is not a startup anymore, right? If you go back into those companies, you have so many verticals. So getting everything right into data, getting a democratization of the access towards data, and then the AI comes in. But before it comes in, if you cannot regulate. So ability to adopt, move quickly, do not hesitate to take risk.
So in Germany, we have for the first time on a federal level a digital minister who's also there in his name to reduce regulation. And in politics, we love to look at watches and say it's 10 to 12 or whatever time of countdown is running. Are you hopeful that politics really understood the assignment? You guys, or we guys, talked about AI, how regulation hinders us, what we need to spur it, how big the chances are of AI, and now is the discussion really there on the table in Berlin, in the Chancellor?
I think for me, when I see when this announcement happened, was super happy, right? It's a very good initiative, right? And we already in the last time in the earlier government also in terms of simplifying for example, for us building is in 35,000 rooftops here, which we are doing it. The regulations have significantly come down, right? But at the same time, it has to happen across all the federal states, right? That takes some time. But I see the change, and I'm really super positive with all the changes in geopolitics happening. I think a lot of discussion is going around. The future looks much more positive than if I was looking at 5 years back.
What do you say, Christian?
Yeah, I think I agree with Malik. I think there's a very positive movement now, and I think also if you talk to the guys in the EU Commission, I mean, there's a lot of awareness of what's going on. Still, I would say, I think people underestimate that, kind of cutting down regulation with the Laubsäge takes forever. It takes forever, and I don't think we have the time. So therefore, I would really advocate and would love to see that politics make some blunt decisions and get also rid of bigger things of regulation and not, discussing for hours and days and weeks and years this little law and this little law and this little here. Because in the meantime, we get a lot of other stuff additionally. Therefore, I think you really need to cut it down, and I would love to see maybe Germany being, the front runner, the chancellor saying, I would advocate for getting rid of this and have some friends in Europe join, and then we get rid of it.
We are a bit over time already, but I have one final question for you. If we met again in 5 years here in Munich, maybe even at DLD, what would you like to have happened then? If you have one minor, maybe, or very bold thing in regulation and politics that should have been changed, what would it be?
Shall I go? Yeah. For me, if we meet in 5 years, we should have at least 2 or 3 European entities in the new industry to be proud of, right? And that could be whether it's applied sciences based. In fact, I was attending a few sessions back. There was one discussion around the new technology which is changing the energy needs moving forward. For example, a quantum compute, right? The optoelectronics kind of thing. Because Germany is really good at fundamental engineering. So if Germany, in 5 years' time, I see 1 or 2 industries which are new age industries, we have some name in a PowerPoint across the globe. This is what is a European company. That's what I would love to see.
What would Munich have to do?
I would be grateful if we sit here in 5 years and look back and say, well, today they talked about important stuff, and we see it now being implemented, and that would, for me, be attractive power pricing in Europe in general, and clear signals of some regulation which we cut totally.
Very short and precise. Thank you guys very much for being with me here on stage, and thank you guys for listening. I hope you had some interesting takeaways, and I hope to speak and see you later outside this hall. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.